Like, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Ah, seemed like a nice lady. Just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery? Hit the fucking light skin lottery and still going on complaining.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard and
Trying to be a victim.
But seriously, it's gotta sell the mommy lifestyle. And it's gotta be all about me. But not seem like it's all about me. In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi. Woo! But not too far.
Lot going on to the news. My God, it's so crazy out there. What's going on with Meghan Markle?
They're so racist. They're so racist. Some of that she went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. Sometimes it's just some in-law. Cause she's complaining. I'm like, what the she talking about? Oprah, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Cause even black people wanna know how brown the baby gonna be.
Lot going on to the news. My God, it's so crazy out there. What's going on with Meghan Markle? She thinks that everybody is just stupid. Like we can't see that she is manipulating his dumb husband. I really feel sorry for the family. Maybe everybody's fixated on how good looking this guy.
They're so racist. They're so racist. Some of that she went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. Sometimes it's just some in-law. Cause she's complaining. I'm like, what the she talking?
Forget the Oprah interview. Forget the Netflix docuseries. Because the conversation around Meghan Markle has shifted once again. And it's all thanks to Chris Rock. His Selective Outrage special became a cultural earthquake, where Meghan wasn't treated as a victim or a royal rebel, but as the target of 5 devastating punchlines that had audiences laughing and cringing at the same time. This wasn't casual banter. Rock targeted her biggest claims: ignorance about royal traditions, allegations of racism, and the contradictions of wanting privacy while chasing publicity. He sliced through each one with the kind of humor that lands because it sounds just a little too true. Even black families want to know how brown the baby's going to be, he quipped, stripping down Meghan's most dramatic moment on Oprah to something ordinary, and suddenly, the shock factor was gone. That's the update here. The Sussexes have faced criticism from tabloids, politicians, and commentators for years. But Rock's jokes marked a turning point. These weren't talking points in a debate, they were cultural markers. 5 jokes that reduced years of carefully managed image building into memes and hashtags. And when the laughs are this loud, the damage is even louder. Today we break down those 5 punchlines and why they've stuck in the public's mind longer than Meghan's own version of events. Chris Rock wasted no time aiming at Meghan's most unbelievable claim, that she had no idea what the royal family was like before marrying Harry. In her Oprah interview, Meghan insisted she went in blind, unaware of the institution's history or the scrutiny that would follow. But Rock's response turned that excuse into a joke heard around the world. It's the royal family? You didn't Google them? They're the OG racists. That one line cracked open years of debate. Because whether you believe Meghan or not, the idea of someone marrying into one of the most famous dynasties on Earth without doing a quick search stretches credibility. Rock didn't need to lecture. His sarcasm made the point. By comparing the royals to the original racists, he reminded audiences of their centuries-long colonial legacy, while also mocking the idea that Meghan could have been so naive.
Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers? What the fuck is she talking about? She didn't know.
The audience erupted because the punchline worked on 2 levels. It made fun of Meghan's claim of ignorance, and it highlighted the irony of someone marrying into one of the most scrutinized families in history without preparation. In that moment, Rock flipped the narrative from victimhood to absurdity, and that set the stage for 4 more brutal lines that dug even deeper. But the next punchline didn't just question Meghan's credibility. It went after the very scandal that once dominated front pages worldwide. The most explosive claim Meghan ever made came during the Oprah sit-down, when she revealed that members of the royal family allegedly asked how dark her son Archie's skin might be. That moment sent shockwaves across the globe, painting Buckingham Palace with the darkest brush possible. But Chris Rock dismantled it with one brutally simple observation. That's not racist. Even black families want to know how brown the baby's going to be. With that one line, Rock reframed the entire scandal. Instead of seeing it as undeniable proof of racial hostility, he cast it as ordinary family curiosity. Awkward, yes, but not malicious. The brilliance of the punchline was how fast it undercut years of outrage. Suddenly, what had once been headline news was being laughed at in packed arenas. Audiences didn't just laugh because the line was funny. They laughed because it felt like a taboo thought finally said out loud. For Meghan, that was devastating. Her strongest allegation, the claim that cemented her and Harry's break with the royals, had been reduced to a comedy setup. And once a scandal becomes a punchline, it loses its power. But Rock wasn't finished. He moved past Meghan's most dramatic claims and went straight after her public image, delivering a third punchline that cut even deeper. If the skin tone joke rattled Meghan's credibility, Rock's next punchline went after her entire image. With brutal clarity, he said Meghan wasn't unlucky at all. She had, in his words, hit the light-skinned lottery. That line landed because it flipped her narrative upside down.
What the fuck is she talking about? She didn't know. The fuck? It's the royal family. They're the original racists.
Instead of being seen as someone facing insurmountable odds, Rock painted Meghan as someone with enormous advantages, marrying into royalty, gaining global fame, and enjoying privileges most people could never imagine. The audience laughter wasn't just about the joke itself. It was about the reminder that Meghan's story of hardship didn't line up with the luxury lifestyle she was living. This wasn't just comedy, it was strategy. By calling it a lottery, Rock suggested Meghan's position was one of fortune, not victimhood. And that struck a nerve because it echoed what critics had been saying for years, that Meghan and Harry were presenting themselves as oppressed while living in multi-million-dollar mansions and signing massive entertainment deals. It was a punchline that didn't just get laughs, it fueled debate. Was Meghan really a victim of the system, or had she won more than most people could ever dream of? And in comedy, once that question is out there, it's hard to take it back. But Rock wasn't done dismantling the contradictions. His fourth punchline would take aim at Meghan's constant clash with in-laws, comparing her situation to the most unlikely family of all. After dismantling Meghan's biggest claims, Chris Rock turned to her strained relationship with the royal family itself. He mocked the idea that acceptance from her in-laws was ever impossible. With perfect timing, he hit with this line: "If you want to be accepted by white in-laws, marry a Kardashian. They accept everybody." The punchline landed because it drew an immediate contrast. On one side, Meghan was portrayed as struggling endlessly for validation within the monarchy. On the other, the Kardashians, a family infamous for embracing relationships across boundaries, were held up as more inclusive than the royals. It was a savage comparison, but it was also clever because it highlighted Meghan's constant tension with her in-laws while questioning whether race was the true issue at all. Audiences erupted because the joke did what satire does best.
Oprah, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people wanna know.
It cut through excuses and exposed contradictions. If acceptance was what Meghan wanted, Rock was suggesting she looked in the wrong place. And by holding up the Kardashians of all people as the open-minded alternative, he made the royal struggle look less like a unique injustice and more like an exaggerated family feud. This fourth punchline mattered because it reframed Meghan's story again, not as someone denied her place, but as someone determined to demand it on her terms. And in comedy, that gap between perception and reality is where the laughter hits hardest. But Rock saved one of his sharpest observations for last. A fifth punchline that didn't just mock Meghan's claims, but summed up the entire spectacle surrounding her and Harry. Chris Rock's last punchline tied everything together. After dismantling Meghan's claims about ignorance, racism, privilege, and family tension, he zoomed out and mocked the spectacle itself. His line was sharp and simple. Meghan wasn't the oppressed figure she painted herself to be. She was someone complaining endlessly while living a life of unimaginable privilege. Rock quipped that Meghan was just complaining and drove it home with a reminder that she had already won the lottery. The audience laughed because by that point, the pattern was clear. Every major revelation that once shocked the world had been stripped of its seriousness and turned into material for stand-up comedy. What Meghan and Harry had framed as a story of survival was now being told as a story of contradiction, and Rock's final blow made it impossible to ignore. This fifth punchline mattered more than the rest because it wasn't about a single claim. It was about the bigger picture. Rock was saying what many had started to feel, that the Sussexes had exhausted public sympathy by trying to play both victim and celebrity. And when that criticism comes in the form of a joke, it hits even harder, because people laugh at it before realizing it also feels true. With those 5 lines, Rock didn't just roast Meghan Markle, he redefined her story, and the fallout was immediate. Clips went viral, debates reignited, and for Meghan and Harry, the question became whether they could ever escape the punchlines now attached to their names. But what do these jokes really mean for their future? That's where the cultural verdict comes in. The impact of Rock's routine didn't stay on the comedy stage. Within hours of the Netflix special,
I mean this sincerely, Prince Harry and Meghan, we don't give a America don't give a about you. We don't care about the royal family. We never cared about nothing that had to do with y'all. 1775 was the last time we gave.
clips of his 5 punchlines flooded social platforms, trending on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Viewers weren't just laughing. They were debating whether he had said out loud what many had been thinking all along. Mainstream outlets quickly picked up on it. Royal commentators described the routine as a punch in the gut for Meghan, while cultural critics noted that comedy had now done what years of tabloid headlines couldn't: shift public perception with 5 jokes sharper than any editorial. What Meghan and Harry framed as injustice was suddenly being dissected as irony, hypocrisy, and contradiction. And the ripple effect was huge. Talk shows replayed the clips, online creators parodied the punchlines, and debates reignited over Meghan's credibility. Supporters called Rock insensitive, but detractors argued he was finally voicing the frustration of audiences tired of hearing the same story. Either way, the Sussexes were once again the center of attention, only this time, it wasn't on their terms. That's why Rock's set became more than a comedy routine. It was a cultural reset, because when comedians, commentators, and millions of viewers repeat the same jokes, those punchlines stop being jokes. They become the new narrative. Chris Rock's 5 punchlines didn't appear in isolation. They landed in a cultural moment where Meghan and Harry were already prime targets for comedians, late-night hosts, and even animated shows. In Britain, puppet satire programs had long mocked Harry as lazy and out of touch, while portraying Meghan as obsessed with status. In America, Saturday Night Live skits painted Harry as clueless, and Family Guy reduced their Netflix millions to a running gag about getting paid for doing nothing. And then there was South Park, with its infamous worldwide privacy tour episode. The image of the couple flying around in a private jet, shouting through megaphones, "We want privacy," became the defining caricature of their contradictions.
That's LA. She wants to be famous. She found the guy to make her the most famous in the world, and now she's over there and she's like, oh, this isn't what I thought.
What's the point of being famous?
By the time Rock's Netflix special dropped, audiences were already primed to laugh at the Sussexes. His 5 lines didn't just hit hard on their own. They built on a foundation of years of satire, amplifying the mockery to an entirely new level. That's why the backlash felt so overwhelming. Rock wasn't creating the wave. He was riding it and sharpening it. His jokes captured in a few minutes what countless headlines, think pieces, and sketches had been circling around for years: the gap between the Sussexes' claims of hardship and their visibly privileged reality. And when comedy builds momentum like that, it doesn't just reflect public opinion, it shapes it, which is why Rock's 5 punchlines may have done more damage to Meghan and Harry's brand than any royal feud or press headline ever could. When Chris Rock stepped on stage for Selective Outrage, nobody expected Meghan Markle to become the centerpiece of his sharpest material. But with just 5 punchlines, he shifted her image in ways months of interviews, documentaries, and memoirs never could. Each line hit a different target: her claim of ignorance, the skin tone scandal, the idea of privilege, the in-law tension, and the endless cycle of complaints. Together, they stripped her story down to contradictions, turning what once shocked the world into a global punchline. And it didn't stop with Rock. The fallout spread fast, clips went viral, talk shows replayed the jokes, and social platforms turned them into memes. Suddenly, Meghan and Harry weren't shaping the story anymore. They were being defined by it. That's the brutal power of comedy in today's culture. Once your narrative becomes a joke, it's no longer yours to control. For Meghan, this marks a dangerous turning point. Sympathy has shifted to satire, and every new project she and Harry launch will now be viewed through the lens of those 5 punchlines. Even their strongest claims have been undercut, not by a palace official or a journalist, but by laughter. And once that laughter sticks, it's almost impossible to silence. So here's the real question. Can Meghan and Harry ever recover their image? Or has Chris Rock's comedy sealed their legacy as the royal couple forever defined by punchlines? Let me know what you think in the comments down below.